On February 1st, Singing Hills sent a missions team to visit a mission we support in Kenya, Africa. The mission is Missions of Hope International, a mission begun and run by Kenyans. Our missionaries, Keith and Kathy Ham, along with Christian Missionary Fellowship, have come alongside the Missions of Hope to work together among the urban poor in Kenya. Nairobi is Kenya's capital, and it's a city of 5 million people, over 70% of which live in abject poverty, living on just $1 a day. These are the urban poor. The Missions of Hope runs 10 centers throughout Nairobi where they take in the most desperate children. They feed them, educate them, reach out to their families. The ever-expanding ministry seeks to lift people out of the grips of poverty and desperation. They work with HIV-positive people to allow them to live and work with their disease. They work with people in the community to train them with marketable skills. Then they help them start businesses that can sustain them for the rest of their lives. I speak for the team when I say how incredibly impressed we were with the work being done in Nairobi. Here are a few thoughts from the ones who made the trip. Thank you, Singing Hills, for sending us and allowing us to see the things that God is doing in this part of the world.
I really appreciated how open everyone was at the Hope Center at Mathare. I really appreciated all the teachers and how gentle and loving they were with the kids. They took us into everything that they have their hands in when ministering to the poor. It was incredible and very exhausting because it was a lot of information in a very short period of time. So my favorite thing is to have that we've done since we've been here is have tea at 10 or 9:30 and tea at 3. We should do that in America. They are able to minister to the whole person, not just feeding them, but educating and in Bible, educating them in work skills, educating their children, educating their cleanliness in home, educating them on clean water, just everything that you could imagine to survive in the situation, the community, the slums that they live in.
One of the things that Missions of Hope does in Nairobi is as they build groups of Christians, and as those groups grow, they raise up pastors to teach those groups, to lead those groups, and they start new churches. One of the things that I got to do was to interact with those pastors, and I was so impressed with who they are and their passion and their calling and their interest in doing their job, in fulfilling their calling. It was humbling. Another thing that impressed me was the seriousness with which the believers here take their faith. I went calling with Pastor Stephen, one of the pastors at Missions of Hope, and we went to this shack of a grandmother whose family had a business selling dirty liquor. And I don't really know exactly what dirty liquor is, but it's liquor they make themselves in their bathtub or whatever. But they don't really have bathtubs, so I'm not sure how they make it. But it's very inexpensive. Somebody can get a good buzz on for 10 shillings, which is 12 cents, something like that. Anyway, they made a good living at this. When they became believers, they stopped selling that. And as a result, their children don't eat. That's seriousness. And Missions of Hope, the only food their children get is the food that they get when they go to school. That's commitment. That's serious. I know that I have a better idea what missions is all about. I know I've seen that missions can make a huge difference in the life of the urban poor, and I learned a lot.
Okay, so here's a real quick funny story for you. There was this young girl named Faith, and I was introduced to her, but I was also introduced to 100 other children in the same 2 or 3 days. I went to a Bible study with Derek and Juliana, and she was there, and she sat right next to me, and she goes, "Hi, you met me yesterday. Do you know what my name is?" And I said, "No." And she said, "My name's Faith." And I go, "I met you yesterday?" And she said, "Yeah, you met me yesterday." And she was really offended that I didn't remember her. So for every morning after that, I went into the sewing center at the Mathari Center to say hello to her and give her a hug, because I didn't remember her. But then later I found out there's probably about 1 million Faiths over here in Nairobi, Kenya. So who'd have known?
I was really impressed by the work I saw here in Kenya that CMF is involved with Missions of Hope. It was refreshing to see them following after God's leading and not just doing business as usual, not doing, just focusing on one piece, but taking a holistic approach in which they are helping people to get out of poverty, not just of physical poverty, but of spiritual and relational. Taking these people that are in these slums and giving them hope, if that is in the form of knowing Christ or having medicine, food, education, loans to get their business going so that they can make it out of poverty. Before I came, I was reading a book I was given by a pastor called Unexpected Adventure, I think. I don't know, it's by Lee Strobel. And they were talking about how evangelism is part of life, kind of, about taking every opportunity to reach out to people. And I don't do that very effectively. But we went out in the community and we were sharing, mostly using the EvangeCube, which I thought seemed a little silly, but it was really effective to have a tool in hand and be able to share Christ's good news with them. And that isn't something that I've really participated in the States. So it was something new.
They drive on the left side of the road here. And so they put the steering wheel on the wrong side of the car. But the entire time I was here, every time we'd go out to the car, I'd go to the wrong side of the car to get in. Keith kept saying, "Are you driving?" There wasn't any way. So today I got to preach to 720 some junior hires, which is always scary, but wow, what an experience. They raised the roof on the chapel when they sang. It was beautiful.
Today was really interesting to go see Joska, the boarding school out there, and know what they're doing for the kids, and just to see the opportunities that they're afforded by getting out of the slums to wide open space and personal space, and to know that that's where the girl that I sponsor just graduated from.
And we got to walk around and see the businesses that were actually working businesses that had gotten loans through this micro business, and it was very interesting to see how well they were doing. Bye.